Thank you. And good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, April 1st. Happy Easter to everyone that is participating virtually and those in person. My name is Roxana Gamusio. I'm the Executive Director with the Cosmetology and Barber Examiners Board. And we are in a newly renovated room trying out our technology for the first time, and it looks amazing. So for those of you that are through Teams, I think nothing has changed with Teams, but those that are here in person today, there's some minor changes that look really good so far. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, sir. Ron, you'll need to press your button. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is called to order. The first order of business is a roll call.
Thank you. When I call your names, please make sure to unmute yourself and test out your mic. Mr. Perry Baldwin.
Present.
Thank you. Anita Charlton.
Present.
You, Ron Gillihan.
Present.
Thank you. Monica Lemons.
Present.
Judy McAllister.
Present.
David. David McElreath.
Present.
Jeffrey Moran.
Present.
Lane Petty.
Present.
You, Becky Russell.
Present.
Mona Sappenfield.
Present.
Amy Tanksley.
Present.
And Ryan Timmons.
Present.
Chairman Gillihan, we have everyone present at our meeting.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Looking around, it's good to see this. Welcome to everybody, and thank all the members for being here today and putting that effort in. It has long been our custom to recognize our guests and visitors. Thank you for coming in today to be a part of this. Those of you joining us online as well. Do we have any schools represented in the audience?
We were supposed to have a school. I don't know if they're running late, so if you see them and I don't, because my back's to them, I'm happy to interrupt for them, but otherwise, we've just got a few.
We'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Let's see. The next order of business is the approval of the February 2024 meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Roxana, the next item on the list here looks like legislative updates.
Thank you. Yes. And on those two motions, we had a motion by David McElreath and a second by Lane Petty, all in agreement. That takes care of the minutes. The only item that I want to add is at the end of the meeting during our new business, we will make sure to give everyone participating virtually or in person a chance to speak to the board if they have any questions on the agenda or anything else. So having nothing else, thank you, Chairman Gillihan. I'll turn it over to our attorney. Joe, it is all in your hands for the legislative items that are in the pipeline. And members, you've got those starting on your iPads on page 2. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. Thank you for being here. As you'll see on your iPads, we're going to touch on 3 separate pieces of legislation that will have an effect on the industry. It appears that all 3 of these bills will move forward. They have yet to be sent to the governor's office, so they are still, finalizing in the state legislature. But I wanted to touch on those and then give you guys the opportunity to ask me any questions that you have, and obviously provide any answers that I have for you and research for any answers I don't. The first one is Senate Bill 1752, House Bill 1809. This bill extends the Tennessee Promise Scholarship to students enrolled in a full-time for-profit trade school. And that would extend to cosmetology and barber schools. So this would help a lot of future licensees obtain their education. The Tennessee Promise Scholarship has helped tons of people. And I really think this would be a great resource for it moving forward, and obviously help future licensees obtain, the necessary credentials to practice. That is the summation of SB 1752. I just figured we would touch on each individually. Do any of y'all have questions on that?
That is just for the Promise. It's not for the Hope Scholarship, correct?
It's the Tennessee Promise.
I think it's a great thing. Thank you.
Okay, the second piece of legislation is SB 2506, HB 2613. This bill creates a restricted retail business alcohol license. The legislature has defined within restricted retail business a cosmetology or barber shop. Obviously, that is a change in our standards as the industry goes. Cosmetology or dual shops, as you all know, can serve alcohol at this point in time, but they cannot sell it for profit money. This bill would enable dual shops, barber shops, cosmetology shops to sell alcohol to clients because they would fall within the definition of the restricted retail business. This license would be regulated by the Alcohol Beverage Commission. And then there's a annual tax that a shop would have to pay in order to have the continuing license each year. Within this bill, it deletes 62.4.127B4, which was the prohibition with cosmetology shops of selling alcohol. At this point in time, like I previously said, and as you all know, they can serve it, but there was an explicit prohibition put in the statute preventing the sale. So in order for this license to move forward, that statute is deleted so that it doesn't conflict. One thing to keep in mind moving forward, the barber rules that we have in place, specifically 0200-01.17, prohibit barber shops from selling alcohol in their shops. That's a rule. So we would have to look at rulemaking if this bill is finalized in order to repeal that rule so it doesn't conflict with the statute. While we're on this one, any questions?
Is that an either or, like they could continue to give it away or they could participate in the license and sell it?
So this is creating a new alcohol beverage license that within that definition would allow shops to sell it. So my understanding is, they are now able to sell it. They've always been able to serve it without a fee unless the Alcohol Beverage Commissions determines different, because they will be regulating and setting the rules for the sale of alcohol. I do believe they would still be able to serve for zero cost or sell either way. There's no prohibition from just serving.
Also, I don't see that this is going to affect any prohibition on the schools with alcohol on the premises, correct?
Correct.
So if this is just becoming or being presented as law now, how do the shops that are operating, selling alcohol as barber shops, how do they function in today's standard?
So as of right now, barbershops specifically cannot serve alcohol. It's only dual service shops and cosmetology shops. So essentially what this would allow is, unless they get this license, they are held to the same rules. Okay, so this is just an extra hoop that they can apply for with the Alcohol Beverage Commission and get that license. If they don't apply for the license, they don't have those rights. So essentially this is just an option in saying, hey, the state of Tennessee has created this very specific alcohol license and you can apply to it. It is not like a blanket approval from the get-go. They would have to apply and then be approved and then get that license and displayed.
I understand, but there are already like shops that cut hair and serve and sell alcohol.
No, not sell. They do serve.
Yeah,
It's a fine line. They cannot charge for the alcohol.
But they charge, they have a bar. You could walk in right now and order a drink.
The reason many are doing that is because they have a separate room or a separation between the barber shop or cosmetology. So
Okay,
let's
so
not be
they're considered
confused by
two
that.
separate businesses.
Correct, correct. Just like tattoo rooms are there. We don't
Okay.
regulate them, but it's a separate room.
Gotcha.
So we don't stop that. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question about dual. Like so many medical spas have a license under cosmetology and also the health board. Would the health board actually negate this law if you have two licenses under one facility?
That's a good question. I haven't examined it from the Board of Health. I would need to research that and get back to you, but I'm more than willing to do so. I just don't have that answer for me this morning.
Brian, just to add one more thing under yours, as Joe said, under the barber regulations, barber rules, there's already a prohibition against that serving in there. As he mentioned, we'd have to have a rulemaking hearing just to change that as well.
Any other questions on this bill? Okay, now we'll move on to the most substantial bill. And I know that a lot of people have put in work on this piece of legislation, are very excited to see it gaining traction and moving forward. This bill is called the Cosmetology Compact. It creates a multi-state license for cosmetologists. That multi-state license would extend to states that decide to participate. So if any state decides that they don't want to participate in the compact, they're not going to be held to those rules. So the states get to choose for themselves. This would allow individuals who already hold a cosmetology license in the state of Tennessee to apply for a separate multi-state license. So it would be individual from their Tennessee state license. And then the regulation of this new multi-state license will be regulated by a board similar to this. It's called a commission underneath the bill. And then each member state would be allowed to put one individual from their state as a representative on the commission. And then that commission, just as you all do, will be charged with creating rules, restrictions, hearing cases with licensing matters or anything like that. So they will be the governing body over the multi-state license, just as you all are for the state of Tennessee. Now, this does not affect Tennessee's licensure at all. So the compact is very clear that each state will still have their own individual rules for their state licensees. But anyone that applies and is granted the multi-state license, it will be held to the conduct of the multi-state license and then the state of Tennessee or whatever state they're in, because they would need to have both licenses, if that makes sense. But this would be separate. Yes, sir.
What states are you anticipating will be participating in this?
Currently, there are already 3. Kentucky was the first. Alabama and Arizona have already signed. So there are 3 states that have. We don't want to anticipate because we have no idea what each state's goal is, right? And so, but I was blessed to participate early on in this process, and at least 15 states were represented, and we, including I, voiced that our state would probably be very for this because it allows mobility between states. But it would be up to each state. If Alaska, they weren't at the meetings with us, but they could sign on board just like everybody else. So it's not limited.
The revenue generated from this multi-state license, where does it go?
It's going to go to the commission, the actual board that is regulating and creating a database. We will be adding our licensee database to that board. That data is going to be there. So it's going to be shared information on licensing complaints, which has a fee, obviously. They're going to be issuing a multi-state license. And so all that is going to be at a cost that they will be able to generate. So they will work on rules, and so that each state then that has signed their own compact can participate.
Within the spectrum of the profession, what disciplines are included in this license?
That's a good question. At this point in time, only cosmetology. We tried to have it be aesthetics and manicuring, and barber was the hope from the beginning. But it did not pan out that way. They didn't think that they were ready for various reasons. Aesthetics and manicuring varies a lot between states. And so this is a lengthy bill because it touches on everything that has been vetted. It was open for comment period through the federal piece. This is part of the Department of Justice efforts for the military. So it's a great thing. So schools received information so they could have opinions and voice the document. But at this point in time, cosmetology would be the first non-medical profession to sign this if we sign on board. So it's very exciting. And then we will just continue, hopefully, to move forward with other professions such as barbering.
I think it's a great idea, but currently there's just 2 states in this partnership.
No, sir,
Arizona.
3 have signed: Kentucky, Arizona, and Alabama. Just like us, several states have a bill being proposed during this session. The minute 7 have signed, we can launch it. Until we have 7, we really don't move forward. So it'll get there. Thank you.
David, there's been great interest in 23 to 27 states that I've been communicated with.
Trying to see if I can cast it to the TV.
For those that are participating through Teams, please make sure you're muted. Thank you. I'm sorry, David, we couldn't hear you.
I think that sounds much easier and more efficient than trying to get individual reciprocity through each state, which can be a challenge. Thank you.
Agreed.
Great job.
I have a question. Um, will this apply to their instructor license as well? Like if you had a,
No, ma'am,
Okay.
not at this time. We
Okay.
want to move forward with as many things, but it takes the first one to launch and get it working and get some excitement and
yeah.
realize we're not that different.
Mm-hmm.
And so barbering will probably be the next push if we can.
It takes a lot of cooperation among all the boards and all the states. And even, you know, with our closest neighbors around here, there's so many different nuances on the barber side that getting everybody on the same page and understanding what we're trying to do as a collective has been a little more challenging, and the numbers involved, many tens of thousands more cosmetologists nationwide than barbers. So it also comes to a dollars issue as well. So working through those things, and very, very excited. You guys know how proud I am of this. We'll hope to see it go forward. And thank you to our legislators and all the folks who have worked so hard on this.
So, Ron, to clarify, this is just cosmetology licenses then? Okay, thank you.
There are a couple of other sections after the cosmetology or the composite piece is detailed that I do want to touch on with you all. There are several changes built within this bill to the current barber and cosmetology statutes. One of those changes is the requirement that a barber instructor have 3 years of consecutive consecutive licensure. The word consecutive has been removed. So as long as they've held a license for at least 3 years, they would now be eligible to look at becoming an instructor as opposed to the consecutive element of those years. And then the next thing is, as far as students that are applying for private for-profit schools, the requirements on those students has changed. So essentially, as it exists now, you would need to be 16 years of age and then have scored at least at 38% on the GED. That language, if you remember, in our rulemaking hearing last time, we changed all references to 38% GED or whatever to a different term, which was the high school equivalency credential. So we're working on changing that wording for students that apply for these schools. Now, this compact has changed it to where barber and cosmetology private students would just need to be 16 years of age. They would no longer need to have completed and passed at least 2 years of high school or get that high school equivalency credential. So essentially underneath this bill, students would be able to apply for barber or cosmetology private schools just with the one requirement being that they're 16 years old. But obviously that's a change from your guys' policies and procedures. So I wanted to bring that up to you and obviously give you any chance to ask any questions on that or anything.
If I can add one good fun thing as well is the barbers, for my barbers in the room, the penalty, if you remember in the law, doubles. So whenever we speak to our barbers, we say, don't be late. Not that anybody else should be, but it doubles the fee from 60 to 120. That has gone away. So our barbers that are late will pay the same as our cosmetology disciplines, just the $25 for the penalty, which is a very good thing too. I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that report, and a lot of good things moving forward. Glad to see it.
Thank you. I will continue then, members, on our agenda. We are starting with those appearing before the board, and this is our list of schools that are before you. On your iPads, if you'll start with page 44, this is KO Barber Academy. It's a change in location. Mr. Robert Johnson should be on the call, participating virtually, and the school is located in Morristown. They've not moved far. The application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan were received timely. Chairman Gillahan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Roxana. Do we have a representative from this school online?
You do. Can you hear us?
I can. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Um,
You've got Miranda and Robert on here.
Thank you. And this is just a change of address, is that correct? Change of location?
That's correct.
Are you making any other significant changes to your programs?
No, we haven't made any changes.
Can you tell me approximately how far you're going to be moving and whether there's any hardship on the students to make that drive?
We are literally moving 600 feet, so not very far at all.
Okay. Look at my notes just briefly here. One thing that I noticed is that in your documents, you don't specify that you have a policy to give a receipt to any student who you've collected money from.
Hold on just a second. It is, hold on a second. Hold on a second, I'm looking for it. It's on here.
I have no
It's in
doubt that you
here.
do, but we just need to see a policy.
Just gotta find it. Yeah, I'm just looking for it.
See if page 57 has the statement you're looking for, Mr. Gillihan.
I do see it. It is on page 57 of our reports. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the one note I had for you.
One note as well. You must identify all costs and charges to the student. You do a great job with the tuition portion, but I don't see anything about any tools, supplies, books, things like that. It's not that your school has to sell them, but if a student has to get them, then they need to know that that's a cost that they're going to incur. Can you tell me if that's located somewhere?
Okay, so so the kit is included in our cost, but if you look on page 4, and I don't know what page it is for you all, but this is on page 4 of our enrollment agreement, I have on there the value of the kit and textbooks. But it's included in our tuition. There's no additional charges.
Okay, I just needed to make sure that they were not going to incur any additional charges that were not on your enrollment agreement.
No.
And are you offering the instructors training course?
We are.
Can you point me to the note about 3 years of licensure prior to testing?
Give me just a moment. Bear with me, I'm just looking for the page here. That will be in the catalog, so I'm just catalog here. Bear with me, this is a lot of pages. All right. Page 12 of the catalog, the merchant start. I may need to add that in there. I know that's somewhere, but I can't find it right this quick second.
If you will look at page 6, I think that might be a great place for you to just add that in, where it goes over the instructor's curriculum. If you just want to make that statement, just add that in there, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you looking at the enrollment agreement?
The
Or the
enrollment agreement,
catalog?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
On the apprenticeship program, rules, it does state how many hours the students, will complete before taking their theory and their practical exam. But it doesn't tell them that they have to start with 0, hours. Is that something that we will add, Mr. Gillihan? Do we have to add that to the students', information?
That they have to start with 0.
Mhm.
I think the rule on that, of course, is that the apprentice program hours are not transferable from straight straight barber. So they're not interchangeable. Best practices, I think it would be a great best practice to indicate for the students' knowledge that that can't change over, so there won't be any miscommunication on it. However, that's not specifically required under the rule. But there is the requirement, of course, that they're notified they have to complete within 150 hours. Or I'm sorry, 150%, not 150 hours.
Yeah. And just to add, so it does give them more time. The rule actually says that the school has to witness or know that all the hours were done through apprenticeship. And so because of that, back to Chairman Gillihan's point, it would envision that you're starting with 0. But if you're coming from another apprenticeship school and comfortable with how they track those hours and all
Right.
those pieces, we believe, or I believe, and I think we've talked about it in previous meetings, that it would be your business decision then to accept another apprentice student if you're comfortable. What the rule doesn't allow is from a traditional track where everything is practical and theory to be moved over, or, and unfortunately, I have seen a school do this accidentally. They didn't understand the rule, accept hours from out of state that were already acquired. That wouldn't be part of it. That's what the rule's envisioning, that you're starting not necessarily with 0, but on the apprenticeship track.
That's a good question. Are there any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve with those corrections.
Yes, that's the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck with your move. And we hope the students don't have to drive too far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the only correction, I believe, is the added statement for the instructor piece that Ms. Russell recommended on page 6. So if, Miranda, you can get that to me anytime later this week and we can move forward. The school would have a school and an inspection by a field inspector only.
Mhm.
Thank you, members. Next, we are on our Students to Masters College LLC. This too is a change in location. That starts for you on page 100. I will give everyone a minute to get there. Mr. Jamal Arnold should be on the call participating. This school is located in Memphis. We have the application, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. Just while everyone is getting there, I'll kind of point out what the members probably already know even better than I do. Our shops are moving a lot. The change in location for shops is, since COVID, has been much higher than in the past. And I don't have the exact numbers, but easily a 30% increase. Schools were seeing the same thing. Schools trying to be creative and figure out how to meet the needs as a school and with their students, and yet still juggle having, a shop or a shop in a school, how all that works. So just, we're seeing more and more of that. But Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you.
Sorry. Who do we have representing Students to Masters School?
Jamal Arnold.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear. Great. Can you tell us a bit about your move?
Yes, sir. We're moving like maybe 2.5 miles down the street from our present location.
Okay. Are there any other significant changes in your program?
No, sir.
At this time, do you offer the apprentice or the instructor programs?
Do we offer, at this time, we do?
Okay, both?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think that you need to work on your contingency plan. Your contingency plan is that you don't have a contingency plan. And that's not gonna be acceptable. You do say that if your, school were to close down, that the students could complete their education online. However, while that might work if they were maybe in their last 2 weeks of their education, if they were in their first 2 weeks, we have not approved a school that is completely online. So, you don't have a teach out method with any other school, but I'm certain that you could find another school in the Memphis area that would help you with that teach out plan.
Do we have any other questions as I review my notes? Can you direct me to the notification on the apprentice program for completing in the maximum time frame? 150%.
Oh, sir. I'm kinda hear you hear what I'm saying? Ask the question again. You asking us a
Oh,
question?
I'm sorry. For the apprentice programs, you should have a policy that states that they must complete the program within 150% of the maximum time frame of the regular programs. So I didn't see that in your paperwork.
Okay, that's something I need to add in there. On what page are you, based on the policy? Portion
Well,
of it?
that is one of the rules that would belong in your catalog, at least. So you'd have to insert that policy.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arnold, you do have apprentice students?
He said he did.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes, sir. I'm saying yes, ma'am.
Yes. You do have apprenticeship? You're offering apprenticeship?
I do have one that's present, but he's still in the program.
Okay, I guess our question moving forward is for the new change in location and what we're approving, will you be offering apprenticeship?
We would like to, we need to add, we can get that back to you in our thing. We would like to offer apprenticeship.
Okay, and I guess the reason I'm asking, I didn't think you were only because your page 1, which is our page 102 of your enrollment agreement, doesn't list apprenticeship. And so
Okay.
nothing in your documentation leads us to believe that you're offering it because it is handled differently. It's just a track with which you choose to teach. But if you choose to teach that, and schools can do it at any time, you don't come before the board if you add apprenticeship, but you'd be, if you choose to do that, if the board's okay, you can send me that information later and add it on. But the
Yes, ma'am.
documents that we're looking at right now don't seem to be offering apprenticeship.
Okay.
You indicated that you do have one student who you've been working as an apprentice, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I didn't have to go before the board.
He's not actually in school because he about to take his theory, so he's not there. He's studying for his theory right now.
Yeah. So question, we can have that based on our change of location, added to our in our policy. Do we need to have that this week or later on today, just to make sure we're in compliance with what we're
So-
doing going forward?
So, yes, given that the board's reviewing your documents, if you are offering apprenticeship, your current enrollment agreement doesn't reflect that. So if the members are okay, you would either add it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have on apprenticeship. Schools can add it without coming before the board if they're approved and know how the law and the rules work, because all the details are in those rules. But because you're being approved for the change in location, and this is the time that they would review all your documents. If you're going to offer it, you would need to send me that information so I can make sure that it's all in there and done correctly. And you can do
Yes.
that later this week. And it'd be up to the members. If they want to see it again, you'd come before the board in June. If they're okay with me reviewing it, I'll leave that at their discretion.
Okay,
Mr. Arnold, I'll just point out to you that there are some very specific requirements on the apprenticeship programs. And
Yes,
if
sir.
you're offering that, you really need to take a close look at those so that students don't find themselves in an unfortunate situation and their requirements for the school as well as the out of school professionals that are in charge of their training outside the school. So you really want to take a look at that. And
I will.
if you're going to be adding that, we need to make sure your enrollment agreements are reflecting correctly.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other questions or concerns, comments? Do we have a motion to accept this with the corrections on the policy? And contingency, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to approve it contingent on those changes being made and accepted.
I'll second it.
We have a motion properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And Ms. Roxana, on both of these schools, our inspections are going to be,
Field inspector
Field
only, if
inspector.
that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you and
Thank you.
congratulations. Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Thank you. We had a motion by David McElreath and a second by Mona Sappenfield.
Motion carried.
Motion carried. Thank you so much. Members, our next school starts on page 113. This is Naturalistic Art Academy. This is a new specialty, natural hairstyling school. Miss Nicole Crutcher should be on the call participating with us. The school is located in Bartlett. We have the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog and contingency plan. Chairman Gilhan, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your school?
Yes, sir. Hope everybody weekend was blessed on yesterday. My name is Nicole Crutcher. I will say I have been an instructor since 2015. I have worked at 3 hair schools. Wait, 2 of them was cosmetologists and 1 of them was a natural hair program. And I decided as I was this last school I was teaching at, the effect that I had on the students, I feel like God just spoke to me and told me to open up this school because in Memphis it's a need for another natural hair school to come along, and I just want to give my all to the students. Of course, I would love to open up a cosmetology, but I wanted to start with my natural hair care first because that's most important. So I will be offering the natural hair care, and with me being a trichologist, a certified trichologist as well, I can give them more of the field in my program.
That is wonderful to hear. All of your classes are going to be done on site in-house, correct?
Correct.
Do we have any questions from the members as I review this?
I see that your curriculum, it kind of starts on our 121 for the board members. Looks like you're page 3, and then it continues on. Um, it's almost like you have two curriculums, one that you have written and would like to teach, and then you threw the state board's curriculum in there as well. Um, and we want you to stick with the state board's curriculum. It gives you a detailed image of how the class should go. In your curriculum, you've got several things on there. One of them is wig techniques that you plan to teach in your curriculum, which does not show up in the state board's curriculum. I went back and looked at the law, and I will refer to the to our legal team to decide if wig techniques are going to meet the law. It is not in the law nor the rules about wigs. My only concern there is when we get into wig techniques, there are chemicals like glues that can cause allergic reactions. And so if it's not within the state board's curriculum to teach about wigs, is that a good application? Again, I will defer to um, our legal team to decide that. But
I,
you do say that you're going to teach it, even though it's not in the state board's curriculum.
well, because in the Melodies book, it kind of have like the wefts and everything like that. Now the wig technique, I put that in there because alopecia has become real huge, a broad case now of days, and I have came across a lot of people like when I was teaching that had cancer. So the school we did not use any glue because of course in natural hair care no chemical is allowed. So it wasn't any glue involved at all. So they it's just like a like it was like a band that they had on their wigs. But yes, ma'am, I I did write this. I guess I did it too broad. Of course, I would just wanted the students to see exactly what I would be teaching. But if I have to simplify that, I will.
I had a couple of questions here for you. Did you have any special requirements or conditions for graduation?
Yes, of course, they will have to complete the 300 hours, and they will also have to do the domestic violence training course.
It's on our page 124.
It's on page
Okay,
7 on my yes, sir. Okay.
thank you. Um, Yeah, I believe you have your statement which acknowledges that the student has um, read and received their copies of their enrollment agreements. However, you don't have anything in there that says they've read it and understand that before they made any payments. So if you could just add that, that extra, a little bit of verbiage in there, that would bring that into compliance. They had to say
Okay.
that they understand and they've received this before making any payments.
Okay, I will add that. Yes, sir.
Can you direct me to your plan for keeping all the part-time and full-time student files separately, or do you intend to do both?
I do not. No, sir. As of right now, it's only a full just morning class, just from 9 to 3, and that should be on page.
So
on
you're not going to do part-time classes?
No, sir. No.
Okay, that's fine. And then what is your method for backing up your student hours and records?
Well, I have I kind of went old school. Don't laugh. Like the old time card sheet that I will give each one like during orientation their own time card, and I will
Mhm.
also have one so they can just come in and punch. However, technology is a mess. If it goes down, I will manually have the forms that they can sign in, and of course I will throughout the day be supervisor, of that.
Okay,
I will be there when they sign in and out.
okay. I did notice something, this is just a personal note, so I won't say this is a requirement, but in your enrollment agreement, you say the student has to be 16 years old. I know that you're not suggesting they can only be 16. You mean to say at least 16, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
I will put that AT in there. Yes, sir. I see.
In your enrollment agreement, I believe I did not notice where you're saying the specific students' daily attendance. I know you have several items there regarding hours and weeks and those kind of things, but I think we need to see that student A is going to be scheduled to be here from 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, Tuesday through Saturday. Whatever your hours are, I didn't quite see that
That
specificity for the students'
so
security.
it's on my page 7 on my enrollment agreement. The attendance and the documentation of time where I have they will come in at 9 to 3 Monday through Friday for day students,
Okay.
and I allow them
Okay.
to have 2 10-minute breaks, and they can clock out for their 30-minute lunch.
Okay. And since that's the only program you have, that's the
Yes,
only
sir.
schedule you have, that'll be fine.
Can you explain your refund policy to us, please?
Sure. Let me go to it. Well, my so it will only be the students will give refunds within 45. So let's say they come to, I will allow them, I will give a partial refund if they decide to come, and let's say they been in the been in the program getting close to probably like 30 days. And if they just feel like they, whatever reason of them wanting to withdraw, I will, that's what I meant within my 45 days. Now, the death of a student, of course, if the family contact me and say the student had passed away, I will totally give their deposit back or whatever they have paid to the school.
Um,
I believe what she's probably getting to is that, is that specifically written into your enrollment agreement, your catalog? If it is,
Our page 120.
thank you.
120, let's see.
Okay. It's at the top of the page there.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at, right under refund. Like, it's not completely clear to me, just, reading it. Um, do we give refunds based on the amount of hours the student has done up to a certain hour? Like, is that a requirement for us? Like if a student comes in and they've paid their full tuition, but they only do 3 weeks and they decide to withdraw. Like, is it clear that how much the percentage they will get back? Is that a requirement or is that something that we leave up to the school?
A school can have their own refund policy, and that
Mhm.
can be up to and including that they don't give refunds.
Okay.
However, the state requirement is if a refund under whatever circumstances becomes due or necessary, and there may be some legal reason that it would be, then those refunds must be delivered within 45 days maximum. But they can have their own refund policies. I think best practices, most schools that we see will have a prorated breakdown or a table of time that this many hours you'll get a prorated refund of this percent, or school would charge a prorated amount based on that.
Mhm.
So for clarity, it's probably a good idea for best practices, but their refund policy can be no refunds.
Okay.
Is that your understanding, Roxana?
Yes, they would get to create their own policy.
Let's see here. As Ms. Russell had mentioned on previous school, in your tuition cost breakdown for your books and supplies, I know that you have your total cost kind of lumped together. Again, a best practice, I think that would be good for the students to see what those costs would be as broken down, what you're going to be providing for them or not, so that, again, their expectations are clear.
Sure, okay.
And in your contingency policy, you mentioned Zoom classes, so we need to hear a little bit about how you would intend to do that with the Zoom class.
Okay, sure. So I actually when COVID first hit, we had to the other next the excuse me, the hair school that I worked at, we had to, of course, quarantine. So I got online, and those amount of hours of school was open. I taught, I did theory, and then I told them they had to set up. So I was actually looking at them setting up their mannequins, their stations, and I gave them their assignment, and I had to actually look great. They had to either, and they all after they finished their assignment, they actually sent me a picture. And me and the owner of the school, I had to everything I did that day on Zoom, I sent it to her. But I
Okay.
visually looked at everything.
When you say you looked at everything, were you just looking kind of at the end of the day results, or?
No, sir, I was it was small school, so I had like 4 or 5 students on Zoom, and I was just sitting there with my coffee, looking at them, complete their work while they're doing their work, and then at the end of the day, they sent a picture of the end result.
Oh, okay. So that brings me to my next big question on this. In the event you're doing Zoom classes or anything like that, you're intending to do this completely synchronous. In other words, you're going to be online with them during the entire portion and observing them
Correct.
live.
Correct. Like I was before. Yes, sir.
No asynchronous.
No.
All right.
Can you tell me how many students that you would plan to enroll at one time?
At one time, starting off, I would say just keep it small, like 6 to 8 students. Because just when you start, I just want to be real intimate and give my time, all my all to these students. I don't want to start off with a big group.
I was comparing it to the size of your school. That was my question.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So if you had said that you were gonna try to have 40 in this size school, then
No,
that would have
no,
not worked. But
ma'am.
and
I'm
I
gonna
was
be
just trying to figure out based on the size of
the
your
fire.
school.
Yes, ma'am. The fire station to turn me down.
Do we have any other questions or concerns? Do we have any motion regarding the school
I make a motion to approve
with the corrections and changes?
with the corrections and changes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the school with the necessary corrections and changes and the inspection. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As we're getting ready, Ms. Roxana, for the next item, I want to take just a second and welcome our visitors and guests who have come in great force. Folks, just come on in and fill in wherever you can. Make yourselves comfortable, and please just make yourselves at home. Keep shoes on. Welcome. Great to see all your smiling faces this morning. Do we have one school here or several? Just one? Two? Okay. Could I have someone from this school just stand up and tell us who you are and Wow. Wow. Thank you for making the drive, guys. So for all of you, that's quite a drive for everybody. Thank you for coming.
Do you want them to talk?
Before we move on and get back to our regular business, for the folks who can't see this online, we have a complete gallery full of young students in this industry. It's so great to see our future sitting out here. And I'll invite the schools, whatever your schedule is today, once the meeting is complete, if you'd like to bring your classes up here and take some photographs around the dais, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay. And Miss Roxana will get back on track now.
Thank you. But yes, welcome to all the students. This is thrilling. We have a full room. Members, thank you. And those participating through Teams, we will proceed. The next item on our agenda is starts on page 134, members. This is 731 Vibes Lash University. Ms. Rachel Spouts is participating on the call to answer any questions. The school is located in Paris, Tennessee. The application was previously presented at the February board meeting, and the members had several items to be revised, and so they asked that it be represented. You have before you the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog, and contingency plan. This school is opening as a specialty aesthetic school. However, as we mentioned at the last meeting, the intent is to only teach the eyelash. With the eyelash specialty license, a shop was created and a license, but not a unique school. However, this would be the first school that, through being a specialty aesthetic school, could teach only eyelashes and not the makeup and the other components. And we believe that would fall under the purview of the board to be able to approve it that way. So Chairman Gillahan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Welcome again, and thank you for coming back to this meeting. I can see that as I reviewed the file that a number of changes and upgrades had been made. If you don't mind, for the benefit of our newer members, if you could give us a rundown and description of your school once again.
Hi, yes, good morning. I was hoping to open this, as Miss Roxana announced, a lash specialty school where I'm only offering the lash class. I am going to offer the instructor course. I want to teach an employee of mine how to, she's been doing lashes with me for several years, but how to teach the lashes as well. So, but yes, we hope to just have a lash school. We have several people here in Paris, Tennessee that are interested, and we think it will be a great asset to the community.
Okay. I had a note on the student daily schedule. That's on 138 an hour. iPads for the members. You do have a reference to the days and times attending. Are you only going to have one schedule, or are you going to have part-time and full-time?
Part-time and full-time.
Okay. For the members, if you would notice where it does say, she does have her start date and her expected hours per week, the end date, the days and time attending appears to be okay for me if it is for the rest of the members. Can you give us some information, if you don't mind, a little bit more about your teach out plan? It seemed just a little unclear to me.
Sure. Yeah, the contingency plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if there was a problem with, where we had to shut down, then there is one other school in the neighborhood or in our city that offers the lash course, and that's called Day College. So, I would inform the students about transferring over there, or we could finish via online. But it's a it's a 300-hour course. It should go pretty fast.
Right. So
that's on page 154. Chairman
Right.
Gillen, I apologize. Thank you.
your note was that you did not have a formal agreement with that particular school. Have you had conversations with them? Would they be amenable to that, or is it just something that could be available? You could direct your students to?
I have a relationship with them. I know them.
Can you tell me how many students you would plan to teach at one time?
I would only want three for the full-time, three in the part-time.
The part-time and full-time hours seem like they overlap. How would that work if you had 3 of each?
Yeah, I would have the students in different rooms, like three would be finishing up in the area where you apply the lashes. They would probably be, they're working with their mannequins, and then the other ones would be in the office setting doing book work.
Okay.
Can you give me some information about your completing any any uncompleted hours through Zoom?
Sure, yeah, we would be there synchronistically, so I would be on there at all times where they can ask any questions, and we would go through the Milady program that is very readily available online. They have we have, and so yeah, we would be on the Zoom call and I could see them, and then we would go through with the curriculum, whether it be the book work or practicing on mannequins or practicing on a person.
I know in our last meeting, we were asking about the entrance, because I think this was inside of a pre-existing salon. Do we have to specify where they enter into it? Because I can't remember from the last time.
They do not enter into a salon. They didn't either last time, but maybe my floor map might have been not clear. It's a duplex kind of business. So in the floor map that I included this time, I didn't include the shop at all because I didn't want to confuse anyone. This is only the school portion. The school is all together. The shop does not conflict whatsoever. There's a whole different entrance for the shop, a different entrance for the school.
Okay, was that entrance inside of the classroom, or was it just straight in? I think
It is
that was
inside the
question that
classroom.
we had last time. Did it have
It-
to be separated? That's what does the entrance have to be separate from the classroom? Or can, like patrons, how do patrons enter? Do they enter into the classroom? Are they able to enter into the classroom? Is that a rule that we have? I wanna just be clear.
The rule doesn't say anything about patrons in classroom, except that the classroom has to be separate. It has to close. It has to have an enclosure, I believe. But it doesn't say anything about the patrons entering through or not.
Okay.
And back to Chairman Gillihan's pointed to several best practices. Obviously, it would be nice if they didn't, but as long as the room closes, I
Mhm.
think you're okay.
Okay.
There's a separate piece that says that a shop and a school have to have separation as well. The word separate is used.
Mhm.
And again, our schools are trying to figure what that means. So as long as it's separate, we have had a situation where the floor plan looks one way and when we go to inspect it, looks a different way.
Mhm.
That's how we would know, okay, it didn't quite match up, but as
Okay.
long as there's that separation,
Okay.
I think we've been okay.
Do we have a question?
This interior door, does that empty into a hallway or does this empty into the salon?
To a salon. It's a pocket door. It's a sliding door. I put it there because if the school were to expand, I could open that door, and it's another room about the size that it's currently showing. So it could double the space. And it's just myself that has a station over there on the other side of this door where I work on Sundays. And, um, if I do 100% school and I leave my shop where I'm doing lashes, if that makes sense, then I would just acquire that space as well to
Ryan, would
open
it be
it up
fair
to
to
the
say
school in the future if needed.
would it be fair to say that our concerns have been intermingling the salon area with the school area at different times?
Is it just the door that's required for separation? That's it?
That's all?
Okay, I mean, I don't see it as a problem if her students were watching her professionally do salons. Lashes, I think it'd be a great service for them to watch, but again,
That might cross a line.
It does,
it
yes.
does, okay.
The students would need to have their own clients come in to the school
Okay.
that they work
separately.
on. Yeah, so the word separate is used in a couple of different places for that reason, but it doesn't define solid walls, it just
Okay.
uses that. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
a great question, yes.
Any other questions or concerns? What is the will of the board?
I move to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve with the necessary inspections. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
And congratulations on being the first of this type as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Love it. Thank you
You
very
got a
much.
round of applause from
You
the
do.
students in the back of the room, so you might have some students willing to come to your school.
Thank you.
Very exciting, thank you. And members, if I might have missed it, but she has no updates to make, right? So
Great.
Ms. Schultz, when you are ready to be inspected, just let me know. What we have done in the past is made sure that a field inspector can reach you within 10 business days of when you are ready. If a board member is available to inspect your school at the same time that the inspector is, I will make sure that that's the case. But if we don't have one, we don't want the school delayed from opening. So you can just connect with me for that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Members, next, we've got Revive Beauty and Wellness Institute. This starts on page 155 on your iPads. I'll give you a minute to get there. This is a new cosmetology school. Miss Emily Findley is on the call to answer any questions you have. The school is located in Clarksville. This school was previously presented at the December 2023 board meeting. You have before you the application, a revised floor plan, enrollment agreement, catalog contingency plan, all presented for your review. I believe the business plan is also entered here. And so Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you for questions, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I forgot to push my button again. That's going to take some getting used to. I'm going to give you a moment to tell us a little bit about your school in just a second, but I just want to be clear. This is a full cosmetology program with aesthetics, manicuring, and instructor training, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Finley, could you tell us about your school?
Yes, I have been a full service salon and medical spa. I am a licensed cosmetologist, esthetician, massage therapist. And for the past 2.5 years, I have been struggling to find employees or people who want to work or people who have who are confident in starting in the field because they feel like their education did fall short at some local schools. Also, once I realized that one of the local large schools is closing down, I saw a need for another school here. My stepson's girlfriend has been on the wait list for 2.5 years to get into TCAT, and it just seemed like a good time to add another school here locally.
Do you intend to provide any of your programs in a virtual format?
I do not at this time.
Thank you. Members, I'm looking at 161 on our iPads. One of the first notes I had is the specification of the individual student's specific daily hours and schedule. I see that you have, of course, cosmetology, 64 weeks and so forth. I see that you have the estimated graduation date in here, and I believe, sure if I see a start date or not. Let's see, if we look on page 160, the previous page, the table I'm looking at is more directed towards an employment history. So I'm not seeing any real specification of identification of which program the student is signing up for, what their specific days of the week, their daily hours, and their number of weeks they're in school for that particular scenario. That would need to be added. On a subsequent page, 162, of course, you have your schedules listed. Do you only intend to have a full-time program, no part-time?
At this time, I'm only planning to have the full-time.
Okay. I think I would really like to see that specific notification where the students identifying their exact program, the week's hours, start date, graduation date. I'd like to see that spelled out.
If I could interrupt you just to make sure that I make a note what we're
Mhm.
missing. So on page, I apologize. Page 159 of ours, she has the date, anticipated start date and anticipated end date.
Mhm.
But I agree with you. I can't seem to locate how they're going to mark off which program they're on. So Ms. Bentley, that's the point. If you can point us to which page you've got that on, so that the student marks what they're taking.
Yes, ma'am. It's right there, program of interest next to today's date, anticipated start date, and anticipated end date, where it says application for admissions. On my page 1, I believe that is your page 5.
Okay, so you're
Okay.
expecting them to write in cosmetology versus aesthetics versus manicure? Okay.
Okay,
Check 1, 2.
that's
And it
fine.
also, there is a place where they can check mark it. My husband's here, he's saying.
Right
Yes,
there.
so on my page 3, your page 7, and at the top of your page 8, they're going to mark off which one.
For the kits?
Well, they're marking
The tuition.
yes, it's tuition, but they're selecting which program they're here, as well as writing it in on our page 1.
Okay. I do see what you're referencing, and I really studied that as I was going through your application. I think that it'd probably be a little confusing to a student. It's your document. I think for me, though, I prefer to see it a little more concise so that they can locate that much more easily. I think that the student might get a little lost in that. It's easy to see that what their tuition costs and those items are, but just a little more clear on their individual programs. You do have a notation in here, which is one of the policy requirements, that full-time and part-time students' files will be kept separately. I congratulate you on putting that in there. So many missed that. But I did want to be clear that you weren't going to do part-time classes.
That was a question, I assume, but you've answered that. You're not doing part-time.
Not right now, no.
Okay.
Correct. I have read your refund policy very clearly, and that's perfectly fine. However, there is still that state requirement that you need that statement in the event any refund did need to be committed, that it would be done within 45 days. So that's really just one sentence in there.
Okay, we will add that.
On the teach out plan, it says that that their transcripts and credits will be transferred, but if they have a balance with the school, that it will not. Is that correct?
It's up to each individual school, on what their policies are on, again, refunds and those kind of things, and their hours. Um, Most schools that I'm aware of will have a policy of some type in their, contracts, which is just between the students and the schools, that, they won't release the hours of the student that they've accumulated until they've, met their financial obligations.
And that's even if they close down, while the student is still in school?
It could be. Could be.
So the contingency plan, do you have a contingency agreement with some other school or institution where the students could go?
I don't have a written contingency like agreement with any of the other schools, but there are 4 other local schools here in Clarksville, one of them being TCAT. And they do accept transfer hours.
But with a 2.5 year wait list, would that be fair to the students?
TCAT specifically does usually have a 2.5 year wait list if you are starting, especially if you are starting traditionally in the fall. A lot of people end up dropping out throughout the year, and then people will get bumped up, and a lot of students will roll over into the fall again. So say we got shut down and it wasn't in the fall, it's likely that we could move at least some of the students to that program, and hopefully there won't continue to be a 2.5 year wait list if more schools are opening. And there are also, I know, schools across the state that are online. And most of those are apprenticeship programs, but those I believe would also be an option.
Okay, I I understand your desire to open the school due to the true need for it, and understanding that maybe you're not seeing sufficient teaching coming from other programs. You're offering 4 programs to open up. How many educators are you going to have, and where are you sourcing these educators from?
I currently have myself and 2 others who have been in the field for some time, including one who is a licensed instructor. Um, and she has been working at one of the other schools here for several years. Then she transferred. She's working at one of the prisons actually currently.
Teaching
And you are a licensed instructor as
I
well
am.
as the other?
I am, yes.
So you'll only have yourself and one other licensed instructor.
I have several other interested that are not licensed instructors, but they do have the 3 years.
Okay. To be clear, you would not be permitted to have anyone who is not licensed as an instructor to be teaching classes. Only licensed instructors are permitted to have that ability.
I understand, yes. And so they would be attending an instructor's course.
You have on your application that you would like to offer the instructor's course, but I'm not seeing a curriculum for the instructor's course. And I didn't see the instructor's need for 3 years of licensure. Obviously, you know that because you just said that, but I'm not seeing it in your paperwork. So can you point me to the curriculum for the instructor's training program? Or junior instructor, whatever.
I will, if I'm allowed to add that in, it is missing. I think that my program 2 to 5 at the very top, I intended for that to actually be the LASH and not the instructor's training. I did do my instructor's training pretty much online through another school, which I would direct them probably to the same school that I attended to get my instructor's training. If I'm not allowed to add that now or later without going back before the board. If I'm allowed to go ahead and add in the instructor's curriculum and the verbiage that you just said about the 300 hours, I would like to go ahead and add it now.
My 2 questions, my last 2 questions, are the classrooms separate for each program? And then just making sure that it's understood that there's supposed to be a licensed instructor per program. Like the programs can't be combined in the classroom together, correct?
That is my understanding.
So if you have 4 programs, you have to have 4 instructors if it's gonna be going on at the same
If
time.
they're all going concurrently, then
Yeah.
they need their own instructor teaching that program at that time.
And that's a key. That's a good question. A lot of the schools, if they have the full cosmetology instructors, they will operate the different courses, different days of the week. And that's, yes. She
She
does.
has that outlined.
Correct, correct.
How many students do you plan on enrolling?
To start out, of course, we're probably going to start out small. It's going to be difficult to find people to enroll at all, I'm sure, without being able to take any government monies, and no financial aid, no GI Bill. So I anticipate it to really start as a trickle, honestly, and expand from there. Probably 20 would be the max, and those would be staggered, not at the same time.
Well, you only have the one full-time schedule though for each of these,
Correct.
and they're running concurrently.
No, the only one that, well, the cosmetology, let me look. Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. The other 3 programs other than cosmetology are all staggered. So cosmetology has Monday.
Cosmetology and aesthetics are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Aesthetics, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so you're crossing over on Mondays. Manicurist and cos will be crossing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then the eyelash program and the instructor as discussed. So there would be some overlap, but to your question, if you've got 2 teachers, then that would work just fine.
Yes, in cosmetology, the only overlaps that we don't have any overlap between the smaller programs. Does that make sense? We don't have any overlap between aesthetics, manicure, and eyelash.
Right.
So cosmetology.
I can see what you've done here.
Yes, okay.
In your
I do-
blueprint that you provide, you've got it in 2 separate buildings. Can you tell me where those buildings are in relationship to one another?
So we are located in the Sango Walmart strip in Clarksville, and it is 3 doors down in the same strip. So
Like 60 feet away,
60 feet,
roughly.
roughly.
On a day one instructor potentially is ill, how would you manage students between the 2 separate locations with only one instructor? Would you have to cancel a portion of the school for that day?
We would.
The student schedules would need to be reflective of that, so they wouldn't be penalized for having to make up that time on a different day.
We can add that, yes.
Gonna take just a minute and look back at something here just to make sure it's in the paperwork. You could probably direct me to it very quickly, in your, if you have anything in here about your teaching programs that I may have missed. Your statement that, the enrollee has to be licensed, for 3 years prior to.
For the instructor portion, he's talking.
For the instructor portion.
That if we're,
not added.
it's not, we will add that though.
Okay, so you'll be adding that in with your additions?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
No apprenticeships, you said?
No, not at this time.
And no virtual, correct?
That's correct. Not at this time.
Can you show me the statement where it says that the student will receive a copy of the enrollment agreement? Just found it myself. Sorry. Sorry, 170.
If I could just add on to that, there is that missing component. They understand what they've read as well. You definitely say that they have received the copy, but they need to have it, say they understand it. It's on page 12 of your document, 170 for us.
On 10, page 10 of your document has it. Oh, that's for the understanding the code.
Code of conduct. I understand about the code of conduct. Let's see if there's anything else.
It's your page 12. I think Chairman Gillahan's just asking for the word understand to be
Understand,
added,
yes.
that the students understand what they're signing. I think we had 2 other schools be asked for the same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just add that they understand right there.
Agreement
Right.
complete.
Yeah.
We will add that as well.
Thank you.
So the ages, it's 16, 2 years of high school, and on the first page, she has 18, second page, she has 16 in the enrollment agreement. So can they say 2 different things, or do they need to
Yes.
say the same?
They can say 2 different things.
Okay.
Okay. The code and the rules say at least 16.
I think the question is though that she has in her documents that it says 2 different things in her own documents.
Oh,
Yes.
regarding the same program? Oh, well, they need to match.
Page 8, your first page, Ms. Bentley, says that your students have to be at least 18, and that would be your decision. They could be,
Sure.
but somewhere else you list 16. So you'll need to make sure to decide which you're going to accept and make them the same.
Okay, we will fix that. It should be 16 there on the first page, as well as the other location.
It was on page 2, under emissions requirements.
Yes, so it's saying 18 on my first page and 16 in another place. I will change them to both reflect 16.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Do we have a motion regarding this application?
I make a motion that with the revived changes and everything set back into Roxana, that we can go ahead with the school.
Second.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries with the usual customary inspections.
Thank you, and congratulations, Ms. Emily Finley. We will need a board member only because the layout is a little bit unique, as the members have said, and they are close by, but it's the field inspector that will make sure that there's no issue with the floor inspection itself.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Members, thank you. We are on to Franklin Hair Academy School of Cosmetology. This is a new ownership change. It starts on page 172. I will let everyone pull that up. If you're on the Teams meeting, if you could make sure to mute yourselves until we get to your piece, and then you can answer the members' questions. You have participating remotely, Michael Marks or Ms. Patricia Parsons, that the members, of course, are very familiar with. Ms. Patty, I know we all miss her. This school is doing just a change of ownership by adding Mr. Marks to the ownership. And so you have before you the application, floor plan, contingency plan, enrollment agreement. This school is accredited. They've been open since 2007. Chairman Gillahan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Roxana. Who do we have on the phone for Franklin Hair?
Mr. Marks, are you on the call?
Yes, sorry,
Oh,
it remuted again.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Marks, congratulations on this project you've undertaken.
Thank you.
I do have one question, maybe in a note on yours. As with the others that we're seeing pretty frequently, that word understand is missing from the statement that they've received, read, and understand. Full copy of their applications. I think it's page 52 in your documents and 232 for us. And the a question I had for you, but I didn't see anything in your documents regarding an apprentice program. Do you guys plan to do any apprenticeships?
No, sir. I'm not sure that NACUS allows that anyways. The accrediting body. Yeah. So no,
Oh,
we're not.
Exactly. I just, I know that and you do very well, but I just like to ask just for clarity since I didn't see anything in here.
Yeah, I wish they did though. We always have a lot of people asking about it.
The it's just a change of ownership, no significant changes in your programs otherwise, correct?
Sir.
All of your statements and policies on my list, I was able to locate with that one exception. Does anyone else have anything? Anyone else? Okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Roxana, would there be a inspection for a change of ownership?
Only a field inspector.
inspector.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Congratulations. Good
Perfect.
luck
Thank y'all
going
so
forward.
much.
Congratulations. If you could make sure to just make that minor change, adding that word, congratulations, and then we will coordinate the inspection when you're ready.
Hey, Miss Roxana, when I make that change, do you want me to re-email you back that?
Yes, just the section that includes that. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we've got our last school before you. This starts on page 239 on your iPads. This is Mid-South Cosmetology and Barber Association. Back to our schools needing to move. This is a change of location. They are moving both the cosmetology and the barber school license. It's a duly licensed school. You have before you participating on the call, Ms. Shadana Banks. The school is located in Memphis. They have provided the application, floor plan, enrollment agreement, and contingency plan. Chairman Gillihan, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Hello, it seems like it hadn't been long since we approved this school. Can you tell me a little bit about your move, please?
I moved to a larger building so I can do the traditional school as well. Have the traditional school.
Okay. So you're doing the full traditional program, great.
Yes.
And I should have clarified that this is a little bit unique, which is great that she's got the space to do that. She's going from apprenticeship, which is really just classrooms, to full cosmetology and barber. Bless you. And so we're going to consider that kind of an upgrade in the school as opposed to just a change of location.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your new location, is it, approximately how far is it from the previous?
It's about 8.9 miles.
Okay. Is that going to be a hardship for any of your students that you're aware of?
No, I don't have a problem right now. No one have said anything.
Your new facility, is it in a strip mall? Is it standalone?
It's in a strip mall.
Tell me about your hybrid program and how you deliver that.
Well, some of the students that is actually doing the theory work online, they're actually will continue to be able to do the theory work online.
And is that a synchronous method or asynchronous?
It's a synchronous method.
I have a question. This is just for my personal clarity. When the schools have students in person and students online, do they have to have a separate teacher for online?
Is it a question for me? No, they don't.
I don't think we've ever addressed that, so I think that it would be appropriate if I'm teaching a class and you join online for that class.
Yeah.
I don't see there's a problem with that.
Okay.
Right.
Now, to be clear though, you're not moving apprentices into a new full-time program, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And she's opening full cause, barber and aesthetics. She's moving everything. Is she doing are you doing, I'm sorry, are you doing different programs or are you doing the full cosmetology barbering? It's on page 242. It says official program names and it has
All of them.
all of them.
Yes, all of them.
So do we have classroom space for that? And
Yes, we do. I have 3 classrooms, and then some of them are actually going to be different times as well.
How many instructors do you have for your school?
Right now, I have 3 instructors.
Okay.
can you tell me where your schedule for the programs are? Because you said they would start at different times. But I'm probably overlooking it. I can't locate it.
Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second.
On the bottom of our page 242, I believe.
Yes, page 266 on your iPads. Thank you.
Thank you.
And 242 is where they would identify the specific for the individual student. I did not find your policy on backup methods for logging your hours,
Hold on. I'll look for that.
as well as keeping those full-time and part-time files separate.
Page 264 has her time clocks and clock hours. What that is?
264,
Yes.
246. Okay. Takes care of that. I believe you would still need to add your notification to keep all your full-time and part-time student files separate unless I'm overlooking that one.
Okay.
Miss Becky did the curriculums ready to you as well.
Curriculums do look good. They're found for the board members on 243 and 244. I did not mark down that I saw the 3 years of licensure for instructors. May have just overlooked that. Can you direct me to that?
Yes, it's at the top. Oh, hold on. It's on my page 3. On my page 3. It's mastering right up under the admission procedure.
I see it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else have a question?
This is not accredited, correct?
No, it's not.
No.
Okay, we have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second
With the changes
with changes
and inspection.
and inspection.
Okay, you've heard the motion and the second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck, and I know you'll be coordinating with Ms. Roxana.
Hey, Ron, with the change of location, is that just a field inspector?
Thank you very much and congratulations. Members, we are going to turn to the legal report. I know Michael Underhill's here for us regarding those cases. If you will make sure to tap on your iPad document so that you can take the arrow and pull up the legal report. I'll give you a minute. Mike, it's all yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Roxana. Good morning, Board. I have 117 items for the Board's consideration today, consisting of 3 represents, 13 barber cases, and 101 cosmetology items. I do need to point out for the Board that on item number 14, that matter has been paid by agreed citation, so obviously the Board does not need to consider that one. And then on item 101, I noticed at the bottom of my recommendation, the civil monetary penalty of $1,000. I believe that should read as $2,000. So I will go ahead and open it up to questions.
What item was that again, Mike?
Item 101.
Guys, for the benefit of the members, especially our newer members, Mike's going to proceed to read every one of those to us for April Fool's Day. Mike, I did have a question about item 62.
Okay.
That is on page 21 of our reports.
Yes.
Um, Understanding what FERPA information is. I don't believe it's possible that the respondent, when they say they don't have FERPA information in the student's file, that would not be possible because there's many, many items and that's required in the student's enrollment agreement files that would be protected under federal privacy rights.
I could send a letter to that respondent clarifying that statement.
Okay. I have a feeling that I understand what they're trying to say, that they didn't have anything to give out, but necessarily an enrollment agreement has personally identifying information in it, things like that. Okay, I think that would be fine.
Number 30, if this is an unlicensed activity, why was there no fine?
On item number 30, a notice of violation was not issued. That goes back to the inspector having some discretion. They did counsel that respondent on individual and shop licensure. So kind of based on that factual difference, I made the recommendation of the letter of warning and flag.
Mike, do we have proof that there was unlicensed activity? I believe we don't.
Outside of maybe the testimony of the inspector.
Okay, it just says on that it revealed unlicensed individual practicing on a client, so that led me to believe that there was evidence. Just making it consistent. On 35, next page. Everybody left. And I know that that's happened in the past.
That is correct. Yes.
I mean, other than flagging it and going back to inspect, is there further?
Well, obviously I want to go back and inspect and these persons that left, try to see if we can nail down some licenses on those individuals. I felt like that might be appropriate, is to just.
Yeah, it's
Give
an
it a
interesting
pass.
strategy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that's flagged for us revisiting that. And then the same goes for, well, not the same, but similar, 59. This is the inspector was asked to leave.
Yes, that was an interesting memorandum. Apparently, someone affiliated with the shop, if I'm remembering this one correctly, they were not the owner manager, but they came with some security personnel and were apparently aware of the anonymous complaint. And so they respectfully asked the inspector to leave, and so that's fine. We can come back at another time for that one as well.
Okay. Thank you.
It was interesting, yes.
I'll take your word for it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, my general comment, right? We talk about this every meeting, but unlicensed activity is rampant, and this board is spending hours and hours making sure people are doing things correctly. So when we find that they aren't, just want to make sure we're getting in front of that as best we can.
I try not to be deterred by that. We'll keep re-inspecting until
Yep.
the
Sounds good.
mood changes.
Fair enough.
Mike, I think I'd like some input from the other members, but on case 35 and 59 particularly, I see that as unprofessional conduct as well. Perhaps we could add a statement in those letters for that.
I can add that into the letter of warning on 35. Sure, I'm flagging. And then you said 59.
59, the one we were
59.
just discussing as well. I think whenever they're turning away an inspector, that does rise to a level of unprofessional conduct, and we all know that that can bring additional consequences.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions on the legal report?
I have a question about 101. I received more communication from the public on this. And since COVID, and I believe I talked at the board meeting right after COVID about this, but it's like cosmetology gone wild. There are so many things that the permission to have a license is not a permission to just break all the rules. And one of the things that I have been asked and I'm concerned about is with the climate of what the DA's office doing in our area, if this is some way somehow found not to be a crime, will we be giving the license back after recommendation of revocation?
Well, as you've seen in my recommendation, that may have some factual bearing in front of the board. However, that does not deter the administrative part of it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, every case rises and falls on its own facts, but as it stands right now, should that be the case, now obviously facts can change, but as it stands right now, I would presume that the administrative part would still go forward, absent the criminal aspect of it.
Thank you.
In addition to unlicensed activity, when it comes to the inspectors, how do we go about changing it where they're actually asking for an ID to match the license?
Roxanna, jump in on this one. It's my understanding now, I haven't talked to investigations about this, but I believe that that is the standard that they try to use. Now, obviously, we have situations where identification is either refused, but I believe it is at least asked for on the front end because obviously they do want to match up the information. But we do have situations where, I'm just not going to give it to you.
Sure, I understand that. I've never in multiple inspections had anyone ask for ID. So I always get concerned that, I have 8 licenses hanging, 5 people working, but it doesn't ever match. So in the world where there's shop owners and licensed professionals here who respect our licenses, is there an ability to ensure that the inspectors are doing this to find more unlicensed people, find them and get them out of the system?
That can be discussed with Don and Rich. Again, that's kind of outside of my area. But I think in a lot of circumstances, the inspectors know a lot of the people that they're dealing with because they tend to work the same area. I think when someone is not known to them, that's typically when we try to ask for identification and match it up, and then it depends on whether you get that cooperation or not.
In the situation where the field inspector's asked to leave, and you mentioned the security of the one, in that situation, could the local sheriff or authorities, law enforcement, be brought in on that?
That is something I would probably need to discuss further in legal about that. I've been here almost 4 years doing this, and that's the first time I've had somebody walk up with security and ask the inspector to leave, knowing that they were there to investigate a complaint. So, that's something I would need to talk further with legal about. How would you deal with that specific circumstance?
I know in the past, there's been one where the windows have the film over them, so you can't see in, and they keep the door locked, so they won't let the inspector in.
So if I can add, so what our process is, if the inspector can't get in, is we send them a letter. And the letter has a phone number and the field inspector name. It's signed by me. And it's a request to inspect. So they have to tell us when we can inspect. And that can rise to a formal complaint with civil penalty and so forth. So I would say 90% of those letters are successful. They know they've got to reach us. Some of our shops aren't open Monday through Friday, right, when we normally inspect. And so that's kind of the process. We've seen fewer of those where the tinted windows are blocking us because we've had to send letters of instruction. And, again, we're there to inspect and have an obligation to do so to protect the public. So anytime you all even have a shop that you're concerned about because they don't operate when we do business and we can't get in, I would suggest filing a complaint so we can try to do another, drive by and send them a letter if we haven't inspected. But know that they're still being inspected every year. The field inspections team for the last many years has finished inspecting every one of our 11,000 plus shops. So one way or another, we've gotten in, but yes, to your point, it's a little bit disconcerting, but they'd have to respond and let us inspect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question. In the denying, excuse me, the identification, what happens when they deny? Is there anything that we do?
Typically, what I've seen is if it's someone that is an unlicensed individual and they refuse to give identifying information, we will call that person an unknown. They're still an unlicensed individual because they could not produce a cosmetology license or a master barber license, and that would be assessed against the shop, since ultimately the shop is employing the persons.
The inspectors, just to add a little bit, if the person says, I don't have any ID on me, we wouldn't have a lot of recourse to make that be presented, right? They look up online, verify.tn.gov, and look and find Ryan Timmons, and it's an easy name that we don't have 50, and they have in the past asked for important information that only Ryan would know. Date of birth, when did you finish school? So they have access to that, and our new system upgrade is going to include giving them even a little bit more access. It would be great to see those driver's license, compare pictures, but we want to make the inspection successful, protect the public, but we don't want to be there 45 minutes because on occasion when we're there long, then the clients complain that their service was interrupted. Who's going to reimburse me for my time? So it's that fine line.
One other comment myself, item 87, just referenced MMA, and I know that pops up about once every year or so. Nothing was found, so that's good. It's unusual to me, though, that a member of the public would even know that name. So sounds like a competitor. Any other questions on the legal report? We would need a motion to approve the legal report with the changes that we've addressed.
So moved.
We have a second. Motion is second, motion's been properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Mike, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, members. We will go back to our agenda. If you'll switch back to the presentation. We are on to our applications for felony. That starts on page 278. I'll give everybody a minute. We have only one individual. This is Mr. Jonathan Scarborough. This applicant is incarcerated. He is requesting to take the Tennessee examination. You have before you a letter from the student as well as a recommendation. The board has historically sent out a 2-year agreed order for a probationary license. This does not make any difference as far as the license itself, but allows the board some flexibility if the individual was to need to be revoked or any new complaints came about. I'll let you review the information. And unless there's a change, I would need a motion to proceed and allow him to move forward.
I make a motion to approve him to test with the 2-year agreed citation.
I second that motion.
We have a motion properly seconded to approve with the 2-year agreed order citation. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next item, we don't have reciprocity often, but this one is before you, starting on page 283. This is an application for reciprocity with an aesthetics license from Florida for Lisa Bumpass. The certificate shows she was originally licensed in December of 1998. Florida does not require the exams for the facial specialist license. Ms. Bumpass has requested the board reconsider her 25 years of experience and waive both exams. We have done this in the past for an individual with a license for 30 years. So this would be the first time that we're lowering that. If it's okay with the board to approve that, if not, possibly just go with a practical exam and waive the theory.
Do we have any proof from previous employers that she has worked for 25 years in the field?
We don't review work experience when the license there that long. We just haven't because, working 2 years in New York may be the same or better than 20 years in another state. It just varies immensely. There's no limited number of hours and so forth. So we've never gone down that path, but the dates of licensure have been very important to the board. With Florida, aesthetics and manicuring are 2 license types. They have no examination at all. So the last time we did, I believe it was a manicurist, and we waived the exams. She had a license for 30 years. This would be 25.
Do we know the curriculum for facial specialist? Is it very similar?
It is not. It's 260 hours. It just isn't compared to our 750 hours, no. But again, it's hard, if you're working at a salon in a tourist area, you might be doing everything there versus a small shop in Tennessee. It's just really hard to compare. Once an individual has that license, they continue to grow.
However, in her statement, she did say when she moved to Palm Beach, that even though she met more estheticians and she gained some experience. She was just saying that it was at a slower pace than what she was doing in her other location, and that's when she transitioned to another career. So again, does she meet the qualifications for the practical? I can understand like the theoretical portion, but practical, like, are you able to efficiently do the services that are required in Tennessee?
My recommendation is the practical. If the board doesn't
Yes.
want to drop it to 25, and we've done that in the past, is gone with just the practical versus both. but it's at the board's
But
discretion.
considering that, like the span of time, all those years, so much has progressed. And she definitely needs to know all the rules in Tennessee. So, I would even recommend maybe leave up her hours.
We have never sent anyone back to school, not since I've been here in
I
2013.
know.
So I would just caution the board on that. We have asked for the exams and both exams or one, we've done the practical more often than not. But going back to school after you've,
Yeah,
been
25
working
years.
is a lot.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, are we making a motion yet, or are we still speaking on it? I would like to make a motion to approve with the practical examination.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion. I'm reminded of what Amy says over here many times. We have used the test as the gateway of determining what the qualifications are. Your motion was for the practical. Mona, you had some concerns about time and school. Would you prefer to see both exams? Is that what you're suggesting, or?
It would be my preference to see both exams, just with the length of time and the lack of proof of work experience. And yes, both exams would be more appropriate in my thought process.
I'll second that.
Okay, well, let's kind of back this up a little bit. Your motion was to approve for the practical. Would you amend your motion to approve for the practical and theory?
I made my motion for both theoretical and practical examination.
Okay. What about our second?
Yes, I accept that change.
Any other discussion?
So essentially, it's to deny her request.
Correct.
Okay.
Normally,
Deny
that is
request.
what we would have sent her. She's already gotten a letter from us that she needs both exams.
Yep.
That was just a comment, not a motion.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, are we satisfied that we want to require both? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. We are moving on to our miscellaneous requests, and these start on page 290. The first one that you have before you is a request made by Ms. Rita Joan Cook. She is requesting that we waive the 300-hour instructor training course. Ms. Cook has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in education since 1996. She's held a cosmetology aesthetics license since 1983. She understands that she will need to pass both the theory and the practical instructor exams. This is exclusively about the 300 hours as an educator. We have waived previously someone that had very similar credentials. These weren't quite identical, but she's provided her documents. I didn't keep them all on your iPads because at some point we're looking at so many documents, but she's shown proof that she does have her master's in education. So again, the 300 hours wouldn't be anything new since she's already an educator. So if it's okay with the board, we would be putting her to take the instructor exams and she would become a cosmetology aesthetics instructor.
Roxanna, I believe the others that we have approved in the past also had that level of education.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we waive the 300 hours and allow her to test.
I'll second.
We have a motion that's, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna just say, I find joy in receiving instructors that have like their degree in education as well. The students, they enjoy that type of teaching as well.
We have a motion that's been properly seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Members, I think on page 301 is our next miscellaneous request. This is pursuant to Tennessee Code 62-3-124B. This is a request to waive the need to retest for an instructor who has not completed the continuing education. The board may, for good cause, grant up to an additional year for the person to complete the 16 hours. They have also given me the authority to waive an additional 6 months, so it gives us a full year that we can extend that. Mr. Marcus Hobson has emailed the board explaining the health issues with his mother-in-law as well as his wife, which caused him to completely miss the requirement during the correct expiration date. You have that before you to review. He's never had the extension.
No, see, they,
So,
I'm on
Mr.
the
Arnold,
board.
Mr. Arnold, I believe, thank you. So members, I'll let you review. He's never had an extension. However, he has not taken continuing education since 2019. So I'll let the members review and discuss.
So we can allow him to receive the one-time exemption.
We could, yes, you could.
Has he attended his continuing education yet?
Yes, he attended in August of 2023.
Oh, okay.
Now
Then,
he should have attended by 2021 or 2022 for it to count for this session, but yes.
got it. I'll make a motion to approve the one-time exemption and get him his license.
We have a motion and a second by,
Yes. A second, yes.
by Monica.
Thank you.
I have a question, Roxanne.
Yes.
Do we know if he's been working as an instructor during this time?
I believe he's actually in a neighboring state, not in Tennessee, is my understanding. So
Okay.
he hasn't been teaching, but you know,
Okay.
that it's a hardship to go through those
Sure.
exams, and so he missed it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on your iPads on page 317, this is a request pursuant to Rule 0440-01-.10, which states that an applicant must apply and pay for their original license within 6 months after passing. And I apologize, I think on the previous one, I said that I'd been given an extra time to approve. That's not the case. It is on the 6-month extensions that I can review for good cause and extend up to 6 additional months. In this particular case, Ms. Winiko Jacobs has provided documents regarding medical issues and has explained her information that she received, that she was also misinformed. She had taken her practical instructor exam on December 2nd, 2022. This will be the first time that we're extending this for an instructor. We usually do for licensees, but she's provided the documents for you to review.
Her license is in good standing otherwise.
That is correct.
Is her continuing ed a factor in this one at this time?
Not at all. She's really working on that first instructor license for
Okay.
the upgrade. And when they get those, we mail letters, letting every instructor know that they've got the next 2 years to complete the continuing education.
Okay, so she took the exams to become an instructor and passed. She just didn't pay for her license.
Correct. She didn't pay for it or complete the application process so that we would have it all to do her upgrade.
Okay, sorry, I'd like to make a motion to approve this and have her get her license.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second by Mona. Thank you. I missed that.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Our next item is on page 327. This is a request to waive, also Rule 0440-01-.10, which states that an applicant must apply for their original license 6 months after passing the examination. For good cause, I've been given permission to extend an additional 6 months. You have before you information from Ms. Victoria Hope, who has provided that she was among the very first to take the updated PSI exam in 2022. And so during that time, she was unable to obtain her score report. She'd applied for the license and moved on, but we could not obtain her score report. It took quite a bit of time to get that updated. In the meantime, she had other delays going on as well. So she had asked to be presented to the board in February, and we missed that meeting cutoff. So, but I went ahead and approved her license, giving her the extension so she wouldn't have to wait almost a full month and a half to 2 months without working because she had a job. So I would need the board to review, and it's okay with the board, approve the fact that I have granted her that extension, knowing that that's what we normally do.
So I can attest myself that they had a lot of difficulty getting those score reports
That
out during that
first-
time. And
yes.
still do to a little bit of a degree, but they're much, much better. We would need a motion to grant Roxana um,
Forgiveness, not
Forgiveness.
permission.
That's right. That's right.
I make a motion to approve this and get her officially licensed.
Second.
Ms. Moran, we have motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And members, I believe this is our second to last miscellaneous. This is a request to extend the 7 years. This is pursuant to Tennessee Code 62-4-123, which says it addresses the time to complete the coursework. And the statement says that a student has 7 years from the original date to complete all of the hours. Ms. Desiree Rumley has provided an explanation regarding her unable to complete her aesthetics hours because she had a child and was misinformed by the school. She started her education in 2014. So this is a little bit unique because we would be approving way past the 7 years. The board does have that discretion. So I'll let you review her information. Because the hours go back so far, I wasn't able to speak to her. She did leave me a message over the weekend, but I didn't work this weekend. And so I've not been able to actually find the hours from 2014 or 2015. If we cannot, that would change perspective. But assuming that she has hours from 2014 and 2015 and we find them, the members would be extending at least 3 months, I would assume, till she finishes those hours.
So she is not complete with her hours. She's just asking to go back to school to continue.
Right. We would have to grant that extension because as it stands right now, those hours are gone.
How many does she say she have?
I think she said 500.
Oh, okay. Oh, 648.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
missing about
lot.
102,
Okay.
which would,
Wow.
in theory, in a couple of months, she could get done. I think her documents explain the disagreements with the school as well, but obviously we don't step into that if there was a situation with the school.
And of course, then she would move forward to test once she
Once
completed
she
her hours.
finishes, this is in question. If the board approves it, then she would have whatever you decide, 2 or 3 months to finish the 102 hours she's missing, and then she would need the exams, yes.
For our members who are not so familiar with schools, there is generally a window of time for any of these programs. You start an aesthetics program, 750 hours, and you have a broad window of time to do that for most students, depending on that school's hour structure, and you see that they're all over the place. 7 years to complete that, and be behind is quite a bit of time, and then she's still going to have some time going forward to get complete. All kinds of things happen in life, so just to give you a little background on that, some schools can wrap up 1,500-hour programs in less than 11 months. Others take 65 weeks. We had one today.
So just for clarity, we don't have available those hours, right?
That's a really good question because it goes far back. And if you remember, I think at the last meeting, we agreed that our retention record is 7 years for everything. So if in fact we don't have them, I think then we just can't move forward, right?
Right,
Because when
right.
someone waits too long, that's the downside.
Right.
We have a system that we used between 2011 to 2015 to scan hours. So if she did have hours in 2015, there's a really good chance they're there. It's just an older system and not all of us have access to it. So that's the first thing, if the board agrees, that we will do is try to look for them. If they're not saved and scanned there, and this school did a great job of sending hours. So I'm not concerned about that. It's a matter of we can see them. I wouldn't even have a problem reaching out to the school. They're still licensed and asking for the hours. But if we can't, then that changes the dynamics.
We're looking at a window of 10 years rather than 7.
Correct.
Speaking as an instructor, when a student has been away from school for quite some time, especially having almost all of her hours already, it is really hard to refresh and she's got 100 hours left to refresh her and prepare her to test. Are we setting her up for success or failure by approving? I don't know the answer to that, but we could potentially even set her up for failure because can she recall that information? Maybe she can, maybe she cannot, but she is asking for quite a bit larger window than others. I've seen them come back and ask for an additional, 6 months or something like that, but she's asking for an additional 3 years. So
Yeah, my
just
thought
something
on that was that she's gonna have to go back on her own and start this whole I mean, she's gonna have to read through the whole book, go through everything hands-on. It's not gonna be 100 hours, but maybe it won't be the whole 750. I mean, I personally, I'd be okay if they found her hours that she could test through because she's not gonna be able to recall the information in that 100 hours. She's gonna have to put in probably another 100 plus herself. So I think at the end of the day,
And as you stated, Rebecca, as an instructor and school owner and just working in the different disciplines, when we have students that come back with such small amount of hours left, they aren't really prepared to take the exam. So there's that, coming back into the school, the disruption of the classroom, the instructional time with the other students, like how to feed her back in. Um, that has been a struggle, for many instructors. And so that's why you have some schools that don't take students past a certain amount of hours. And if this is aesthetics, so what is that, 750? So some schools, they would require that they start at a different, yeah, yeah, start a different level, but
we also have to remember that we're not just thinking about her, but also about the school,
yeah,
because this is their pass fail ratio
yeah,
that we are
most
also
definitely.
having to consider. I mean, one student doesn't seem like, it's a big deal in a pass fail ratio, but if you're only completing, let's say 6 students a year, we don't know what their,
Right.
that amount is, but it does reflect on their pass fail ratio as well.
agree.
Is the school obligated to accept them? That's at the school's discretion, correct?
Yes.
Well, but if we look back, if we approve this, the pass fail ratio goes to the school at which they completed the most hours. So regardless of if this school took her back or another school, the pass fail ratio goes back to the original school because she completed the most hours there.
Correct, based on the rule, but remember that she's not been put into test. Whatever school puts her in is going to pick up that pass fail. So from a numerical standpoint, PSI doesn't know what school she went to before. Our technology is not that smart. But if that school wished to then dispute it because they're accredited, well, I've never had that, but I think that's what would need to happen because the technology can't guess where she did 600 hours, right?
In this program, are there benchmarks as far as like 250, 500, 750? Could we put her back to a certain period that she doesn't have to start from zero or no?
In the law or the rules, no, there are not
Okay.
specific benchmarks.
Okay. So on that, I recant my initial statement.
And the only thing, and it is the law, yes. So this is very clear in the law. You have 7 years to complete the coursework. It was added first to the cosmetology law and then a few years later to barber. So both sets have that you must finish or you lose all. We've presented individuals that had just gone past the 7 years and some before they go past the 7 years. That's been theoretically what we've done. This will be the furthest away from that time frame. From when they started. They would have lost everything technically in 20.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I view this, if this were any other degree that she were getting, the hours that she would have completed at those schools would not disappear. So if she were trying to get a degree in any other field, she could go back to school and finish her degree. I agree with the board that this would be incredibly difficult for her to understand within 100 hours and test, but I also think she has an opportunity to do that.
Also, just stating that she did not know or wasn't told, we are required to give a law packet, and in the law, it does clearly outline how long you have. Like I said, it's been 10 years, so, yeah.
We would need to look at a motion on this application for you to continue much farther. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved for the purpose of continuing the discussion.
We have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
Could we clarify how much time we're giving her to complete?
Yeah, that would be a,
Monica, can you press your button?
I'm going to make a motion for her to go back to school since it clearly states 7 years and it's been 10. And
We have.
for
a motion on
the
floor.
hours.
We have
Oh,
a motion
oh,
on the floor already. We can't entertain that. Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve. And a second, and that was, so we can continue some discussion here. So that is the motion that we're acting on.
can we deny the 3 years and, increase the amount of years that she's asking for? And she asked for 3 years. Okay, since we've already made the motion.
No, you don't have to approve 3 years.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the motion is simply to accept the hours so she doesn't
To
lose
accept the
all of
hours.
them. But that's the only motion right now.
Okay. so-
How much
So-
time you give her is up to you.
Yeah.
So just for the purpose of discussion, I'd like to hear what Monica was saying that might lead us to modify the original motion to approve.
I was just saying that I felt like since since the law states 7 years, then we would have to change the law to allow 10 years. So I was just.
No, you have the discretion.
We have the
without
discretion
changing
to
the
go
law.
ahead and do the 10 years. We can
You
go
have-
10 years.
The law doesn't say you can go 10 or not. The law says after 7,
Mhm.
they are lost.
Mhm.
But for good cause, the members can discuss and decide to extend.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, I'm very much on the fence about it. The reason that I say that is because the test is going to catch her. If she does not have the relevant knowledge, if she doesn't study, the test will catch her and she will not get a license because she won't be able to pass the test. I could go either way on this if, so I don't want you to think that I'm saying my opinion is that she should or shouldn't, just in discussion. I think the test will catch her. The next question is how much longer do we give her? So this is another hang up for me because we could say, well, she needs to do it as soon as possible because she's already over her time. But if we push her to go as soon as possible and she doesn't have time to study, then we're still stuck. So
I do agree, but I also agree that if she went back, started from 0, and if she wasn't prepared to take the test, she'd fail the test. So her walking through the doors at PSI is her telling herself and the rest of the world that she's ready to take that test, right? That she prepared herself. I think if we put a 6-month window on it and just say X, Y, it's nice. It's the first of the month, so it makes it really clean and clear. Put a date on it. Test must be at this point. We honor your hours and, we'll give you, the opportunity to become licensed. And half of it is, if the hard part is if you've been through it, we all know that a lot of that stuff will stick. But going through the book, if we did, when I went through school, you did the book in the first 300 hours and you sat for 1,200 hours working on people. So you forgot half what was in there. You had to restudy it, read it anyhow, right? So I'd give her that opportunity of 6 months to fulfill her time and prepare herself for the test. And I think, if she really wants to do this for a living, she's going to put herself through it, pass the test, and be great.
If I could add something real quick, just so that you all have the full conversation. The individuals we have granted an extension to have had very unique situations. That's been how I've described good cause. In some of our rules, good cause is defined as a death in the family, extreme illness, right? Not having a child or hardship or not being told. But it's at your discretion. Just we're going to be setting precedents and there's nothing. So my opinion is irrelevant. We get this call often. And what we ask for is that document that shows why 7 years wasn't enough. What took place to delay it? And we don't need all the medical records but we do need to know what would have happened. And we have always extended them, or you all have extended them for those that either hadn't expired or just expired and there was good cause. So just more to throw to you to think about. We would be setting precedents.
Will this always be on a case-by-case basis, or will we have to?
Always come before you on a case by case. Now, we've never presented a case that has gone this far over, not to say this shouldn't be presented, or that we don't have, like I said, a death in the family. We saw cancer documents. We've had I think it's our next one, true medical emergencies. We had a young lady that was written in one of the medical journals as having been almost in a coma for 2-3 years. We've had some unique incarceration, unique situations that the board immediately understood this person couldn't finish their education. Just something, as you're having the good conversation, worth noting that we would be changing maybe how we review these going forward. Mona?
Mike?
Press your mic.
Also to comment on your statement, this board, and I've been here almost 10 years, so this board has tried to be consistent. So we are opening a can of worms in this discussion. So will it be 10 years, 12 years, 50, next time? So we try to be very consistent in what we do. And I think Roxanne has given us a lot of information on our decisions in the past to make these decisions. And they've been based on the timeliness. Maybe they didn't make it 7 years, but, there was real valid reasons. So something to think about.
If I were to put myself in her shoes and I had kids to raise and time went on and life, happens, the fact that she said that she was not informed may or may, we don't know. But if I were in her shoes, I would at least want to be given the opportunity. And if I fail, then I fail because of my negligence. At least the board gave her a chance. And we would say, we gave you a chance. And then the 6 months or something like that, she would now be notified that this is how much time. Hopefully, if I were in her shoes, I would have been studying already, knowing that this is something that I really, really want. So that's just my perspective.
I'm also very much inclined to defer, to give an opportunity to the applicant, rather than just closing the door. If they're successful with it, with whatever's a realistic opportunity timeline to complete it, that's fantastic. They're another practitioner in the field. But if we close the door right away, it may crush a dream. And does it really hurt to potentially give them that window, because it's going to be ultimately on them to succeed or not?
Agree. And at the end of the day, a school would still have to take her on, correct? So I mean, I'm gonna be consistent in delivering that passionate people who want to be licensed professionals in this field should have the opportunity to do so. There's a lot of people who get licensed, don't ever do anything with it. This woman sounds like she wants to do something with it and do the right thing. I'm all for, I'm, I'm all for it.
I have one more question. So if she does go and she tests and she fails, do we give her another chance to test? How does that
So
work?
there's a difference, I believe the motion and the second part to the motion and then conversation was to maybe give her 6 months, would make sure if we move with that. That's 6 months to finish her education. When she tests is up to her. How often she tests, there's no limit to how often you test. She will have 3 years within the PSI system, but that doesn't mean you ever lose your hours. It's just due to the number of names, right? The data in the system. So she can be put to test repeatedly. Hopefully that's not the case, right? Every time we speak to our applicants, we say, prepare to test, pass on the first round. So that's the goal, but there's no limit to how long it can take her to pass. It's simply a limit to the number of years you have to finish your education.
So we can't put in some type of, because this is a unique situation, we can't put in a unique,
Time to pass,
right, time.
that you'd be outside of the parameters of what
Right.
this board is trusted with. Yes,
Because for us, it's completion, right?
correct.
Yeah, so we give her 6 months to go back to school, get finished and out. And after that, testing can be done however often, hopefully, once, but however often she needs to go back.
Yeah. Well, the good thing though is that even if she does the testing, she's not out there doing anything. She's not working on the public because she's not got her licensure. So even if it takes her, however, if she's just a dilly-dallier, then, she still at least isn't burning somebody's hair off or whatever she was doing. Yeah. That's just
Skin.
my thought.
Yes. Yeah.
Ms. Judy, did you have something you wanted to add?
I agree with Brian, because if she wants it, she'll do it. She's hungry, she'll do it. She's not, it's on her.
So with the 6 months, would that suffice for the amount of time she would have to go back to school? Complete?
It'll take her about 5 weeks of school to
Yeah.
complete,
But just, I guess, for scheduling,
I just
school
started-
scheduling, something like that.
depending on if she can get enrolled. But again, that's up to this board
Right.
to decide if that is 6 months, if it's a year or whatever we decide that she's got that long to complete. If she can get in to complete, then we're back to square one and she'll have to start over again.
Yeah, and I believe that's fair because if she wants this, her urgency should show it.
Can I call the question?
We have a motion on the floor. It's been properly seconded to approve this request with a 6-month deadline to complete the education required. My last personal note is there's always the question of where is she going to find a school that's going to sell her 100 hours? Okay, so that was just a personal note. We'll call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No,
No.
Yeah.
3 noes,
I saw
Mona.
Becky, Mona, and
myself.
thank you.
The ayes have it. The motion is carried and she will have 6 months to complete.
Thank you very much, members. And we will adjust, to be fair, what we say for the 7 years. If individuals, are wanting to go before the board, we'll make sure we have as much documentation for you to review. The next and last item we have under our miscellaneous section is a request to waive Rule 0440-01-.10, which states that an applicant needs to obtain their original license within 6 months of passing the exams. The board has given me an additional 6 months that I could review. In this particular case, Ms. Sharonda Spencer has provided an explanation dealing with cancer that delayed her from from taking the exams. And then when she passed on January 4th, 2022, her practical exam, she was unable to complete and obtain her license. So she's asking for that extension, which I believe we've granted to individuals previously, but we would need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the extension.
I'll second. I'll second.
Thank you. Mr.
We have a motion, it's been properly seconded to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you. Members, on your iPads on page 341 is the financial report. This is the director's report. These numbers are as of January of 2024. They reflect the board is at a deficit of $76,070. This is for fiscal year 23-24. The reserve surplus is at $1,146,403. We are at that point of discussing probably raising fees. I don't have numbers. I haven't had a chance to do the study yet. We have a new person that's going to assist with those things that kind of looks at the financial perspective. And I think we've been talking about, fee increases that have taken place to all of our staff. It was a huge study that lasted about 3 years, and what we were paying was really just not comparable. We couldn't even hire people paying way less than $30,000 a year. So now we can say that our staff is at least properly compensated, but it's impacted not only our office, legal, inspection. So everyone has gotten that, and we can feel it. The cost for inspections have gone up also percentage wise, just gas alone, right? So we probably aren't going to be able to avoid raising the fees, but it's going to take us a minute to know what that should look like. I'm very happy that the barber penalties have dropped. Now that's going to impact us financially, but it's the right thing. And so we've got to look at that at our shops and schools paying the right amount, and our individuals. The last time we did a fee increase was 2017. Many of you, thank goodness, were here. The cosmetology side saw a $5 a year increase, which was very low. So $10 every renewal. The barbers went down. They were paying $80 and they dropped to $60. So that's 2017. So if you were licensed prior to that, you remember that $80. So it was nice to give them a drop in the fee and be consistent. Shops were the same. The barber shops cost more than the cosmetology shops. We're all equal and even. So having said that, we'll be looking at those fees to try to have something logical to present before you. It probably will be at the June meeting, just so we start thinking about it and knowing what to project. I think you'll always see we run really close to what we bring in and what we spend. We don't want to have a big reserve, but we also can't be in the negative. So that's going to be our next challenge.
Roxana, those amounts are stated in our rules. If we do make a change, is that a rulemaking
Yes,
hearing as well?
it will definitely be. So that's why the June meeting is probably when we'll have those numbers, if the board agrees to what we go with. And I would be emailing everyone that graph beforehand, so you come prepared to really make a decision at the meeting. I don't know, our fiscal year starts July 1st, so we will probably miss the fiscal year, which, isn't great. But again, we have reserves. We can justify. We don't like raising fees. The legislative body doesn't like raising fees. You all aren't going to like raising fees. So I don't think it'll make it by July 1st, if I'm remembering the timelines. But we also don't want to do it wrong. We want to make sure to see, what does that look like and what are the right amounts. Questions, thoughts, ideas, concerns?
No, as a licensed professional shop owner, stand behind the chair 40 plus hours a week, charge us more money. Like, let's be very clear. We've raised our prices significantly since 2017. If it was $100 every 2 years for a barber, so be it. Like, it's just the minimal cost of doing business. I don't see it as a big thing. I assume anybody who's successful at it doesn't either, If you're not, if the 100's a big thing, you should question what you're doing for a living,
I just want to add that when the medical spas became under the Board of Medicine and they were going to assess the fees for all of us to have this license, and the Board of Medical Examiners oversees this. It was brought in a room at Legislative Hall. You can pay $250, can't you? Well, yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, if you're working, you can pay the fees for and manage your business, particularly at the fee level. If it is $250 or if it's $60, it doesn't, that's just insignificant.
A quick item also we haven't talked about in a long time, but for those that are new on the board, and you may not know, so in 2018, maybe, the low fee income waiver, which is a federal, it's at a different level. It isn't just our regulatory boards, but I believe even the medical board has this. That law, I think, is wonderful. And it basically says that if you can't afford your initial license, not renewal, but that first one, whether it's a shop, it counts for our licensees, and we've had several schools. And you have a federal or state income-based program, food stamps and Medicaid are the most common, you don't pay that first fee. So this program has seen a big hit with that as well, right? And which is great. And I say that when I speak to students, if that's what's holding back that first license, it is awesome to be able to say, when you're applying, you just say, yes, I have a federal assistance program. Send us the letter, that your SNAP letter or your Medicaid, and that license is free. So that is income that we've seen a reduction on, again, for the right reasons. So, yeah. First time only. But it applies to our shops. So we do see it quite a bit on our shops. If you're not an LLC or a corporation, but if you're a sole owner or proprietor and you're on Medicaid, food stamps, that first shop, that first license. With our hair braider registration, we see it a lot as well. So it really is across the board. Okay. Thank you, members.
Is there any new business? Do we have any public comments? Any of our folks online? Okay. Seeing no new business and no public comments. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, members. See you all in June.